and one, we're on. Hey, my name is Annette, and I am here from Word on the Curb. I'd like to thank you for joining me here this evening with the Powerball, the distinguished two, Reverend Charles Boyer and Jean Bowie. I'd like to thank you both for joining me here this evening. We're here at Word on the Curb podcast, and I want you to remember always that solidarity wins. We're in the Black Girls Locker Room where I broadcast from live. So I'd like to welcome my guests. I'd like to give them the opportunity. I first like to shout out anybody who's struggling today. I want to leave you with this. There is nothing that you're going through that's going to last forever, except taxes. Now, we can't do anything about that. But there's nothing that you're going through that's going to last forever. Trust God and trust yourself. Welcome to Word on the Curb. Reverend Boyer, come on, tell us who you are, what you do, and why you do it.
Oh, well, thank you for having me on. It's a blessing to be with you and to share with you and my good brother. I'm Charles Boyer. I'm the pastor of Greater Mount Zion African Methodist Episcopal Church, the oldest Black church in the capital city, and the longest standing Black institution in the city. So very proud of that. I'm also the co-founder, along with my wife Rosalie, of Salvation and Social Justice. It's a Black faith-rooted, nonpartisan public policy and direct impact organization that is committed to the building up of Black people, pushing back, dismantling systemic racism, and we do that through a Black faith, Black liberation theological lens. I do this because I know without a doubt that God set our people free. And having a Black faith lens, I understand very clearly that there is no freedom for Black people without the Lord and without the Black church, which has been given to us. It's a sacred duty. And so everything that I do is from that lens.
All right. All right. Mr. Bowie, come on, bring it.
They got me fired up, brother pastor. Gene Bowie, I am the president and chief consultant of Tossin Consulting Group, LLC. We do business management consulting. I also sit on the Trenton Public School Board. This is my 8th year. I am president of the Finance and Operations Committee, and I serve because we are required to serve. To whom much given, much is required. And so I have fewer days in front of me than behind me. And so I need to pay for some sins. So I'm at work trying to liberate some minds and bodies.
All right. And why they do it. Again, I am Annette here from Word on the Curb. And for those who will join us now and later, here's what I want you to know. This is the Powerball here. This is not a test. This year's November 2024 election will mark a turning point in American history. The only other thing that you might compare that to is when the day we became free. Some of y'all don't know you're free yet, but you are. This marks a turning point in history, determining the nation's trajectory. Where are we going? What are we doing? And how are we going to do it? And so I asked the Powerball here tonight to just offer, some advice and some experience, strength, and hope about why it's so important to vote. We throw that away, and it's such a precious, precious right. And so, gentlemen, let's kick it off. Will you join me tonight in welcoming our guests and opening your ears, your heart, and your mind? Let's kick it, gentlemen. Reverend Boyer.
Yeah, this is, I know people hear this all the time, but this is indeed the most consequential election of our lifetimes. Just like you said, this determines whether we are going to be a democracy or a dictatorship. MAGA extremism, white Christian nationalism, what I call white terroristic evangelical theology,
Yeah.
And for the other side of the coin, you know, I call it bootlicking theology for the Black folks that subscribe to it. There's a whole push to take us back to a time when none of us on this screen had rights. And that's really what this comes down to. Project 2025, the stripping back of voting rights, the stripping back of taking affirmative action in education and schools, the ability to purposefully and intentionally move resources in particular ways towards Black folks and other groups which have been historically marginalized, the undoing of women's ability to make decisions about their own bodies. There's so many pieces on the table that MAGA extremism is trying to push our way. And sisters and brothers, listen, as somebody who fights day in and day out about policy issues, specific policy issues, and I'm talking about, you know, our organization doesn't just show up during the presidential elections. We're trying to get people to come out and vote for city council, come out and vote during mayor, come out and vote during the dog catcher. We have a policy agenda.
Yes.
But this election, this presidential election in particular, is a binary choice. It's whether we are going backwards or whether we are going forwards. And I'm not suggesting that people don't do research, that they don't understand what all of the policy issues are. But what I am saying is you don't have multiple choices here. This is not a multiple choice exam. This is a binary choice. You get one choice. And the choice is whether we go back and whether we go back towards being enslaved, whether we go back towards an all-out patriarchy, whether we go back towards ultimate white power, or whether we move forward towards a multiracial democracy in one in which we are able to advocate for particular policies. And so I just can't stress that enough. Sisters and brothers, now is not the time to be debating over minutia. It's a binary choice. That's what I got.
So, Reverend Boyer, you said something that I think is critical for folks to understand, you know, where we are today. Many people do not understand how voting impacts policy and how policy impacts us.
That's right.
They get lost there. Brother Gene, come on, bring it.
Yeah. So you know, I find myself, I've been trying to share information so that people can be informed about their vote. And so when you think about voting, the best example that I could give is that prior to 1980, I was a Republican. The reason I am no longer a Republican was because Ronald Reagan signed into law Heritage Foundation policies that devastated the Black community. So the fact that the same players are playing at a whole nother level now, because they're impacting all of our freedoms. Do you know Project 2025 will impact free speech if what you say doesn't align with the administration, the president in particular, that you could be jailed? So the risks are very high, especially for freedom fighters, folks who speak truth to power. And I really understand the disappointment that Black people have had with the Democratic Party. But we've been done in. If you read the book by Rubenstein, The Color of Law, all parties have done us. So it's, you know, this is a serious time. You know what a kingdom is? We're going to go back to before 1776. This is real. And do believe, people may say that the other candidate, the one with the orange hair, has denied Project 2025. He's a liar. And if the Heritage Foundation could do it once, they could do it again 2 generations later at a whole nother level. So we could stop playing and being emotional, because it's not about people. It's really not about parties. It's about policy. You have to look at how laws negatively impact you. And so, for me, I'm going to give you another example. So the George Floyd Act that was attempted to get passed, police brutality and criminal justice reform, only one out of over 200 Republicans voted for it in Congress. So when you vote, because in order for laws to be passed, you need all 3 branches of government to sign off. So stop being so short-minded and little-minded about this game. So people are playing 3-dimensional chess, and the Black community is playing checkers. And so, I'm sorry to get fired up, because I remember Ronald Reagan support, being on welfare and having food stamps. All of that, right? All of that as a young man. And so I've lived the nightmare that is the Heritage Foundation policies. And if you really want freedom, and people talk about being free and justice, you're not going to get it with the Republicans. You don't have a snowball's chance of hell of getting reparations if Trump gets reelected. Did y'all hear what I said? So we got all these people talking about reparations, Jack. But when you have a king, you don't have a snowball's chance in hell of getting reparations. That's all we got to do.
I think it's irresponsible when people start debating issues about what somebody did as a prosecutor, or what they believe to have been their rights being trampled on. I think it's irresponsible when people start fighting during elections like this. You were going to fight, you should have been fighting policy a long time ago. You want to argue and debate the issues. Now is not the time. This is not a test. This is real.
Yes,
it will be televised.
Yes, ma'am.
It will be, and it will be a revolution. We have to determine what type of revolution it's going to be. So for those who think I'm not voting because you're irresponsible, I said it. I can't say it.
Yeah, funny you say that, sister, about being a prosecutor. So a prosecutor's job is to convict criminals. Sometimes they get it wrong. Don't get me wrong, right?
Right.
However, I've been robbed twice, one time at gunpoint. My cousin, my dear cousin, who was a Newark police officer, was murdered. He was off duty and tried to stop a robbery. So I get the pain. I want law and order to support our community. I do not want police aggression, and criminals ought to be locked up. But I am an advocate for second chances, because no one being a man of faith, no one's beyond redemption, right?
That's right.
And so for me, having someone, I expect people to do their job. And as for the police, I expect them to protect and serve, and not to have racism and all of that aggressive behavior involved. And they ought to be held accountable. And this cat's talking about police immunity.
Absolute.
Absolute immunity, right? Absolute immunity. So we need to stop being so emotional and short. It's not about the short game. It's about the long game. I have 17 grandchildren, 15 great-grandchildren.
Wow.
What do I want for them tomorrow is how I have to look at this whole election cycle. I don't want them to live under a king, because too many of us.
King is Jesus. I'm sorry. You kind of woke me up there for a minute, but I just want to say this one thing, and then I want you guys to, you gentlemen to, kick it in. I mean, kick it in, kick the door in on this. the responsibility of voting because we don't get policy. And it's true, there is nobody who hasn't leveled the field for us that would be absolved of not doing right by us. Nobody. I don't care who it is. I don't care which party it is. But the bottom line is this: it's either a dictatorship or it's a democracy. At least with a democracy, we can get involved, stop talking about it and be about it, start voting and putting our money, where our mouth is and our mouth where our money is, and stop playing these games. All of this waxing, philosophical, what you believe and what you think today. If you were thinking hard, baby, we'd be in an altogether different place because y'all would have been voting a long time ago. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. No, you're spot on. I think what I've seen with a lot of the folks that are waxing poetic right now and talking about, well, it's about policy at this point. It just always amazes me that the people who do the most talking are the people who have never achieved ever changing a policy. Like I don't see the receipts. I don't see the receipts of actually changing a law, whether at the city level or the state level. Mm-hmm. And so many of us that do this kind of stuff day in and day out are the ones that understand where we are on the playing field right now. Right? And so the vote, and at this point, like the place to work out what they're talking, what a lot of the critics are talking about at this point in the game,
critics without credentials.
Primary. Exactly. That either happens in the primary or on the other side of the vote, because right now the choices are clear. So when the critiques around the prosecutor piece, which I totally get as somebody who works every single day around police accountability, somebody who's been fighting mass incarceration for over 20 years, somebody who helped work to get 9,000 people out of prison in New Jersey. Somebody who helped restore voting rights to 83,000 people in New Jersey. Don't talk to me about policy and about this prosecutor when the other choice is someone who wants, just as Brother Bowie said, someone who wants to give absolute immunity to police, meaning they can kill you dead and not even have to make an excuse for it. Somebody who is putting forth such a law and order agenda that mass incarcerate all the gains that we have made would all be thrown out the window. So even here in New Jersey, where it's been a little more progressive, even though there's a whole lot that we fought, there's a whole lot where things have to go. Somebody who helped organize the situation that brought the Trenton Police Department under investigation. Mm-hmm. I'm saying I get it. The choice on the other end is within this, they would put federal guidelines in place that would strengthen the hand of police power over Black communities. So you're talking about, that's the policy choice. Either that's right. Or somebody that you can sit down and have a discussion about police accountability with. Which one? Right. Like there's no in-betweens there. And so it just infuriates me, because the people that are undermining where we are right now have zero receipts of changing any policy when it comes down to the very things that they're talking about. And it just shows a lack of maturity, a lack of depth. And just like Brother Bowie said, I can tell you don't know how this game is played.
They don't. They don't know. I don't care how smart they are. They don't know. One of the things I'd like to see us do moving forward is increase our training about policy so that they understand how it impacts us. I think perhaps if we could understand, we might get at least on a 4-lane highway and begin to merge. They would at least understand how policy works. And that being said, none of us want a lawless society. None of us. We must all be held accountable. But that means all of us, not just me and people who look like me, but all
That's
of us
right.
must be held accountable.
That's
Nobody is absolved for
That's it.
the lacks in social justice. Nobody.
Yeah. That
Okay.
is really incredible. You know, it's so I don't know if people are going through life with their blinders on, but if you recall, even the John Lewis voting rights were
Mm-hmm.
failed. Now, since the election of Biden, 19 different states implemented voting restriction policies. 19. Think about that.
Mhm.
Everywhere you see somebody who looks like us is catching hell because at the highest level, laws can't be passed this is really pluralistic society, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so you have people who are they're thinking about their little space when it is the power of our unity, and unity doesn't mean sameness, it means the oneness of purpose. They could transform and open doors for us to have all the things that we desire. You know, yes, yes, ma'am. You know, freedom ain't free.
That's right.
Freedom ain't free, and so we need to realize that the other guy, the convict who couldn't get a job as a mall security guard in New Jersey, I got a problem with that. First off, right? That's a cat you want to give the power of the United States to, a downright criminal. I got a problem with that. So we can give him a second chance, but not at that job, right? So he can redeem himself. But anyway, for the past 3 weeks, I've been doing research and sending out information because people need to be aware. You need to make rational decisions, right? Not emotional, rational. Minister Farrakhan did a study, got 18 in 1992, was called Rising Above Emotions into the Thinking of God, right? And so we have to think differently about the things that affect us, and we have to weigh them and realize that I might hurt, but what's down the road for us if we don't get it together? It's not only going to hurt me; it's going to hurt everybody who looks like me. You know, I did some research on this Project 2025. There are about, what was that number? 13.5 million Black people, poor and senior citizens, that will be negatively impacted by the policy in 2025. 13 million. There are only 58 million of us. That's 25%, right? The most vulnerable will be negatively impacted by this. It's about math. And this stuff ain't rocket science. This is just basic 1 + 1 is 2. You know?
All over the world. All over the world. 1 and 1 is 2.
Yeah, basic math. And so, you know, I really thank Brother Pastor Boyer for his work.
Yes.
And if anybody could be a voice for what's going on, it's him. Because he's in that battle every day.
Absolutely. And I might add, Reverend Boyer is doing something in Mercer County that's never been done. It is what it is. He's doing something that's never been done. You talk about being in the, what is it, the vineyard?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, out on the streets, pounding the pavement, giving back, bringing in, educating. And that's not to say every other pastor in Mercer County is not doing their job. Step aside and listen to what I'm saying. He's doing something that's never been done. This re-entry at this level has never happened in Mercer County. So thank you for that.
Well, to God be all the glory. I mean, to bring it home also back to policy. You know, violent crime is still an issue, but you know, nationally, shootings are down, right? we know we got these street teams in Trenton. We got street teams in Newark, street teams in Patterson, right? This is a policy issue. Major investments from the Biden administration have gone into community-based violence interruption.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That all of this comes as a result of fighting around policies around alternatives to police, alternative public safety models.
Mm-hmm.
This is a policy issue. The Trump administration, the Heritage Foundation wants to do massive funding towards law enforcement that would strip these kinds of dollars and these kind of programs out.
That's right.
All of the dollars being invested now around Black maternal health. These are policy issues. This is not a priority for the Trump administration. The Trump administration, or Project 2025, wants to dismantle the Department of Education, right? And then what is left of public schools, they want to have the exams for the military happening amongst public school children, but exempt that from private school children. I mean, so we talk about yeah, let's talk about policy. Is that policy versus not? And when at this point in the game, when we cast the vote, now what you've done is and when you get somebody that you actually can get to the table with, right? And if you're going to talk about policies, now is the time, yeah, put your policy agenda together, get the right person in, and then advocate with that person. And so we just, so many of us just do not understand how it works. I'll give you an example quickly. Here in the state of New Jersey, you know, people, right? We can criticize Democrats versus Republicans here in the state of New Jersey, but one of the things that we did here in the state, we actually put an agenda together. When the Murphy administration, before Murphy won, these entities, Salvation and Social Justice, the New Jersey Institute for Social Justice, the State Conference, NAACP, Fair Share Housing Center, we all got together and we developed a united Black agenda. We put an agenda together. The administration comes in, we went united with this agenda. At this point, almost at the end of that administration, almost everything on that agenda has been achieved. The way that we fall short often is that we don't come forward with a clear agenda. And let me put it this way, like we can criticize Democrats. They are doing things and they are checking stuff off of agendas because certain people know how the game is played and they go with their agenda to the administration, and that's what's being accomplished. So really,
so many people don't know that. They don't know that.
Don't know it. They don't know it, but they just sit back and they think that all of a sudden, you know, what's being done is in response to a lot of the people who are in power. And so if you want to get an agenda done, work through the NAACPs, the national NAACP, Derek Johnson and them, they sitting at a table, they're going to be in them rooms. Right. Y'all want to fight through National Action Network. Reverend Al going to be sitting at that table with Black, right? What they want is, and so we have to understand how this works. So for instance, if the Black church was unified, put together an agenda, we could go to that table. We could sit.
I didn't hear what you said.
Right? If the Black church was the Black church is overall the strongest institution.
That's right.
Right? We know how to raise money and send it up the ladder. Right? But imagine if we utilize the structure of the Black church for a Black agenda and then took that's your voting block. You know, the millions upon millions of people that get together every single Sunday. If we were real serious about transformation, that kind of agenda would be going forth. That's where if we don't organize ourselves, how in the world, whenever you're looking to a politician to be your leader in terms of organizing your people, you've already lost.
You've already failed.
You've already failed. You have to come organized as the people And,
Yes.
and then the politicians represent you. So if the politicians are chaotic, that is that is emblematic of the community.
That's right.
Now the MAGA folks, right? Donald Trump is a representation of white hatred, which exists, and he represents it well. He
represents it well.
He's responding to what they want.
That's right.
He is Frankenstein's monster.
Yes.
And that's what we should be doing. But because we so busy all over the place, and then when it represents itself as all over the place, we wondering what happened.
Yeah.
I don't understand how we continue to elect, and we're going to move past this, but I need to say it. I don't know how we continue to elect people who don't bring the bread back to the community. Those little pivots here and there, and they show up at election time, and they do just enough. They may contribute to just enough, and we keep re-electing them. Stop giving your vote away. Stop. Imagine no pension, because that's what Project 25 and the 47 agenda with Trump embraces. Imagine no Social Security. Imagine no food stamps. Imagine no welfare. Imagine no social justice dollars and programs. Imagine that. And when you start talking slick and trying to philosophize why you're not voting because they haven't done anything for you, you better think and think again, and then get with Reverend Boyer and get the real deal. Do your own homework. Let's bring it home for him, gentlemen.
You know, I've been voting for over 50 years, and I have, except for Barack Obama, I have always voted for the lesser of two evils. Well, this time, I'm not voting for the lesser of two evils. I'm voting against something.
The evil.
And you understand evil itself, right? The embodiment of that evil. And so we have to really say to ourselves, like I've heard people say stuff as simple as, well, they haven't done anything for us, so we need to try something else. The stakes are too high. Surely you're not using critical thinking skills. And so, and all you have to do is read, but you know, we lazy as a people. If somebody don't draw pictures for us, we ain't gonna read any great detail. And I'm talking about as a mass of people, right?
Right.
That could be because people are, you know, the school systems have failed millions of us. So it could be an illiteracy thing. But you talking to people who just as bad as you. If you're the smartest guy in the room, then you're in the wrong room. You know what I mean? And so you need to open your mind up and at least listen to the other side and then weigh it. Because the evidence is clear for me. I've been researching for 2 weeks. Oh, hell no. Excuse me, Pastor.
No, hell is hot. Hell is real, and it's a hell of a situation.
I was going to say, hell is this.
You know, the Heritage Foundation is not playing with you. They have already proven who they are. 42 generations ago, you know, Reagan, that's about time crack got into the Black community. Think about all the implications of what was going on in 1980 and 1984. Think about that.
I think they missed the message.
Yeah, you know, probably because they weren't paying attention. I mean, it spoke loud and clear to me. I had lived it. So my advice is, you don't want to risk. The stakes are too high right now for you to be playing games and being emotional about this thing. And bring me some evidence that it will be better, because trickle down has never worked for Black people. Cuts to the millionaires. You know, when Trump did his did his tax cuts, you know why did mine go up? Something is wrong with the math. I'm just basing how I feel on what I experienced personally, up close and personal. And so just do your homework and listen to people like Pastor Boyer, who's in that fight up to his eyeballs every day. Don't be listening to a brother who you don't even see him at community meetings. We got 25 people at a school board meeting where we have 15,000 students. So I'm not gonna listen to nobody who ain't gonna come and stand up for their children. I'm sorry. Excuse me.
No, it's really okay. I think we're lost. As a people, we've strayed into the woods.
Mm-hmm.
And I said earlier, some of us don't know we're free.
Mm-hmm.
And as a result of that, we're running wild. We have somebody on here from Kenya who's asking for prayer for their orphanage. I think that in Kenya and all over the world, although they may not appear structurally as orphanages, there's a lot going on in our communities that suggests otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to thank you, gentlemen, for being here with us tonight. But we will not close without recognizing and giving honor to God, number one.
Amen.
And then both gentlemen here tonight have partners who will be recognized directly by them. Why partnership matters. Come on, Brother Bowie.
Yeah, because partnerships are crucial. Elijah Muhammad said that our unity is more powerful than an atomic bomb. And as I said a little earlier, unity is not sameness, it is the oneness of purpose. We can transform our collective reality. Yes. If we stop being so singularly focused and silo focused and stop worrying about who gets credit.
That's right.
If we come to the table together, we all get credit. And the beneficiaries of that work are our children and our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren. And so I would say that stop worrying about who gets the credit. Come to the table. Let my strengths shine where you have weaknesses.
Yes.
And I'll let yours shine where I have weaknesses. And that's how we become successful. So it's all about partnerships.
It's all about partnerships. And Reverend Boyer, one of the things I'd like you to wrap us up with before I come back to both of you to recognize your partners and the role they play in helping you do what you do, because that's important. I'd just like you to drive home this policy thing for me. Drive it home. Make me understand that policy is impact. Impact is policy. And no matter what we think, feel, or believe, if we don't get that game, we're going to lose the game. We're going to lose the war. We're at war. This is spiritual warfare, in case you guys are missing the entire message. We're at war. Come on, Reverend Boyer.
Yeah, I mean, certainly just recognizing all the partners. You know, when first, I just want to recognize, state level partners that really helped us to get to where we are today organizationally. I mean, the New Jersey Institute for Social Justice just really helped us. New Jersey Citizen Action, the ACLU. I mean, these organizations, Fair Share Housing Center, really poured a lot into us. And helped direct funding our way, all kinds of things that helped us to become strong. Coming into Trenton was a real lesson. And and I can say that there was a lot of tug of war. There was a lot of stuff. And so I wasn't quite ready coming from a state level situation where everybody was working together, where they kind of poured in and we worked a lot of things together. I wasn't prepared for what Trenton was like. But I want to say, just in a very encouraging way, many of the people that we were arm wrestling with early on, we're actually holding hands with now. So I do, as folks have seen that, listen, and I'll put it to you this way. I don't think folks have been accustomed to Black run nonprofits being run well. I'm not throwing shade to anybody. I'm just saying, because this is also a statewide thing. It's not just a Trenton thing. And so, having wherewithal. And so I think at this point in the game, I'm very encouraged about where partnerships are. And I can honestly say that a lot of us have kind of moved from, or in a process, different levels, moving from contention to cooperation. And so I feel very good about that. This piece, just to give a quick example, we're doing a summer family enrichment at the church all week long. We've got about 150 people there coming around wealth, health, tech, wellness. Capital Health has been a major partner with us. Has really just done a phenomenal job partnering with us. And so, there's a lot of discussions there. I want to give a shout out to Isles, who is giving us a lot of support in terms of our gala coming up. So I just want to shout some people out very intentionally, So anyway, and there's a lot of other partners. But to quickly to your question, I want to answer that last piece with an example. The Biden infrastructure bill, billions of dollars, right? Hitting the ground in communities. And one of the major components is that there's a priority for infrastructure projects that would be targeted to communities that were harmed by structurally racist highway projects.
Teach, brother, please.
Right? The federal highway system, which disrupted Black communities,
Teach, brother,
contributed to their blight.
Right.
Now, that is the story of Trenton, where highways were put in place, broke up Black neighborhoods in order to bring in the town from a commuter level. The jobs that were supposed to be for Black people in Trenton, mostly Black people in Trenton, put a highway in there to commute in and out, broke up Black commute in and out, so white folk could commute in and out.
Teach.
And work in the state government, but then leave and take all their money with them. Now, if you understand policy, you understand the power of what the Biden administration did, you understand that now your responsibility is to hold the county to have a plan, and you have some plans to go to the county and to go to the city to say, we need to draw some of these dollars down to do XYZ project that's going to help, John, that's going to help Hakeem, that's going to help do this and that. And we need to build up some community centers here, draw those dollars down, because we are that community that was disrupted by structurally racist highway projects. But if you're around and all you're doing is criticizing and not doing the work from a policy perspective, developing policy on the ground in your neighborhood, because you don't know how government works, you don't know how policy works, you're leaving a major opportunity to bring billions of dollars into Trenton.
Go ahead, Teach.
So I'm going to try and do some stuff that pulls something in.
Teach, man.
I'm going to work with you on that, Reverend Boyer.
We need to
I'm committed to working with you on that. I'm absolutely committed to that.
That's policy.
That's right.
Teach, brother, teach. You just described everything that's in that book, The Color of Law. That book is the basis for any reparations argument in court because you described it perfectly, brother. I've read the book 3 times. And now we have an opportunity to do something about that. We mouthing off about this pontificating and stuff when we really need to be collaborating and trying to drive transformation in our communities. Go ahead, Pastor.
That's right. The policy work that we yelling about on the federal level, it happens on the ground. It's the state, the county, the city.
That's right.
So you got federal resources, and Annette, you said earlier, you said it right. You know, hold the people accountable. Suppose you have representatives supposed to be pulling federal dollars down and bringing them to communities, and we're good when they're giving all the money to historically white organizations, and they don't even look at you.
That's right.
But you giving them a pass, and that is your representative.
We don't require much. We don't require much. We don't require much.
And that's where the policy meets the pavement, right in your backyard.
That's right. That's right, Pastor. Go ahead.
Reverend, I need you to write that book. Where the policy meets the pavement. I need you to write that book, even if it's a small book, where the policy meets the pavement. And for Gene.
Yes, ma'am.
Draw pictures for those who don't get it.
Yeah. Yeah, we need to. Yeah, we need to really need to connect. Yeah, I'm going to do one. You know, you got me started now. I'm going to do one. I had a vice president used to tell me that I was a writer, so I like writing. And he said, "Did you know a picture's worth 1,000 words?"
Yep.
Right? A picture's worth. I'm going to work on one, Brother Pastor. You done got both of us started here.
That's right. It doesn't take much to get me started. I'm ready to be started. You see that little spark on the end? You know how I taught my grandson to start reading? I started taking pictures of him doing different things.
Okay.
And I asked him, "What's happening in this picture?" And he would say, "I'm eating ice cream." So that's what the words would say. I'm eating ice cream.
Oh, wow.
Okay. As simple as that. Simple things. And I'd like to thank Jacqueline Tolbert Beverly for that.
All right now.
You know who she is.
Yeah,
she
my
said,
sister.
to read, teach them to comprehend.
Right.
Our kids are left behind. I'd like to thank Doug Palmer for his literacy program. That's real. Our children have to read and comprehend.
That's right.
Our adults are not getting policy because they're not reading and comprehending.
That's right.
I don't know where we need to post this policy so that we get it, but I have to bring you guys back. I want to do this again. We're going to do this up until the election. We're going to start setting people on fire. We're not going to accept no vote. If you are living in Mercer County and Trenton in particular, and you are not voting, you are irresponsible. Actually, I don't care where you live. You're irresponsible. Reverend Boyer, Mrs. Boyer, thank you for allowing and partnering with Reverend Boyer to work for our community here in Trenton. It makes a difference, and you're standing tall right beside him. We appreciate that. And Jean Bowie, Mrs. Bowie, is doing the same thing. There's nothing better than a great partnership. Reverend Boyer talked about it with respect to the state. Mr. Bowie spoke to it with respect to the partnerships that help build. There's nothing that builds better than a family that prays together and stays together.
Yes, ma'am.
To the Mrs. Boyer, Mrs. Boyer, thank you. Powerball tonight, y'all. We are here at Word on the Curb. I'd like to thank you for joining us this evening. I'm going to ask Jean Bowie and then Reverend Boyer to close us out with one final message for you. Mine is get to the polls and take somebody with you.
Yeah, I think mine would be that we are what we need.
We are what we need.
We
I like
are what we need, and so we have to come together in order for that to bear fruit.
yes. Thank you. Reverend
Yeah,
Boyer. Policy to pavement. Come
yeah,
on, bring it.
follow for sure. And I just want brother Gene said earlier when folks are saying, well, we want to try something different. Well, in this case, it ain't even different. We already tried the alternative.
That's right. He was already a president.
Hell, like, how do you not remember how hellish life was?
Yes,
Um,
indeed.
so that I just want to make sure we kind of cast that in there. But the last thing that I would say is that the teaching of Jesus is clear, and think about everything. Your vote has to pass this mark. Who is closer to loving God with all their heart, all their soul, all their mind. But just as importantly, because you can't do that without loving your neighbor as
That's right.
yourself.
Yeah.
Teach.
Which candidate in any situation, which policy, what stands up to that standard?
That's a great yardstick.
Thank you so much. Imagine there's no future.
Hmm.
A dictatorship offers us no future. And that's real. My name is Annette. I'm here at Word on the Curve. Reverend Boyer, Gene Bowie, thank you so very much for joining me. I need you guys to come back. I need you
Yes,
to
ma'am.
talk about policy to pavement. Gene, I need you to talk about how policy works and what it does for us. So, the short answer to politics is simply this: it's the way that people living in groups make planned decisions about how their life works. That's the short answer to politics.
Mhm.
Hold your
Mhm.
elected officials accountable.
Hold them accountable.
Hold them accountable. Thank you for joining us. Word on the Curb. Appreciate you. We're looking forward to seeing you again. Thank you for joining us, and I want to bid you all a very good night. We'll be back. We've got something to tell you. Good night, all.
Sister, good night.
Good night. Thank you.